All right, what's up, everyone? This is Spooky, and I'm back to you with another Team Spooky Classic video. And this is another one of my most popular videos. This is from Final Round 16, and it features two of the biggest, most heavy-hitting Tekken legends in the game. It's a JDCR versus Knee. And both players, of course, they're well known for this Korean era of Tekken. This is the era kind of before the rest of the world explored and figured out how amazing Pakistan was. And that was on the back, of course, of Arson Ash and his amazing performance at Evo Japan, as well as his many other performances since then. He would go on to become the Tekken World Tour champ and be the last Tekken 7 champ, in fact. But before all that happened, okay, there were these monsters, and these were two of the most unbeatable players in the game. So, of course, it was a treat for us to have them in Atlanta, the home of Tekken, showing what they could do, against everybody pretty much. Anyway, this one's a legendary grand finals of Tekken Tag 2, and this one is one that really shows both their play style of the two of them, with me having a real defensive kind of reactionary kind of play style, and JDCR, who's like he's like a mover and a shaker. He got both his defense and he has his offense too. He likes to be offensive, and it shows in the characters he picks, the Heihachi and as well as the Armor King, who are two very aggressive style of characters. Knee, of course, Double Jin, he's known to be both defensive and aggressive, but amazing movement there. And also go for the plus frames. One thing that's very fun about this game is that it's rare that they let you do this in Tekken. The only other tag game is Tag 1. But in this game, they added a lot of new mechanics to tagging. And so there are things like you can tag and you can get cross chops and just go for plus frame. Or you can tag and you can just go for a slide and go for the legs during the tag. And there's so many unique things that you can do during this. So even though just like that there's a window where you're vulnerable while you're tagging, it's still real amazing for really stringing together situations with your characters. It's really so fun. And it's a part of the reason why I really love this. This is one of my favorite Tekkens ever, Tekken Tag 2. With these two, their movement and their gameplay, one thing that I like about this, and going back to watch old Tekkens, is that the better you get at Tekken, the more you understand when you watch these old games. You don't gotta know the frame data every single move. You just generally understand the signature moves of each character, which only change so much between games, and also the signature kind of style of each character and how each player likes to approach and counteract each other. And it's fun to see this and see how they're playing real safe, but also the usage of the stature kicks, the usage of the hit confirming, the perfect electrics every time when they want to create space or when they want to punish is really impressive to see, especially so long ago. Keep in mind, this is a very old tournament. So it's crazy to see how top-notch the execution was back then. These guys were, oh my goodness, amazing side stuff. These guys were for real unbeatable. So what happens when two unbeatable guys got to face off? Well, one got to lose, but they're so amazing to watch the whole time. This is another time where I could say, and I don't know how to describe this feeling unless you're someone that has streamed these bigger events, whether it's Final Round, Evo, anything else. This was a time where you don't know who's going to win the match, but as you're watching it, you can feel just a vibe that something special is happening. You know what I mean? You're witnessing something groundbreaking at work, and something that maybe, I didn't know at the time that this video would be so popular, but in my mind, I was like, this is a thing maybe that people are going to go back and watch. Years and years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, people are going to remember the legend of JDCR, Knee, and how Korea was so dominant in Tekken that, the only thing that could stop them was them taking on each other and just showing just the ultimate level of what they could do and inspiring the rest of us to become like them. There wasn't a Tekken World Tour back in these days, but, when the Tekken World Tour finally did come around, best believe that these two were two of the biggest problems on it from the inset, from the onset. They're mixing up so good, they got me confused. And JDCR taking the first game. Yeah. Heihachi never dies, baby, even when they tell you he's gonna die. Oh, look, coaching. They hate that these days. Look, coaching. Man, Knee's haircut to me is crazy, because he would never have a haircut like this in the modern era. He'd probably do either the traditional bowl cut that they like to do in Korea or something else. But right now, he for real, he looks to me like some 80s like action star or something like that. I know that sounds wild, but I could almost imagine like a young Charles Bronson having a wild haircut like that. And it's funny because that's kind of how I think of Knee. I think of Knee almost like, I said something before during another one of these superhumans, and how you watch someone and yeah, they're human, but they're almost like like an X-Men, like a mutant in a way, watching them play or watching what they could do. And these two players for real are like superhuman, just unstoppable forces when you watch what they can do. They grind and train every day. Even their teammates and their training partners they play with become gods because just being in their aura and practicing with them just makes you that good. You saw that especially with JDCR and Saint, of course, the combo, and then Knee and Chanel, also the combo. Chanel's so strong these days. And he was always strong, don't get me wrong, but part of the reason why he's good is he's got a good teammate like Knee. I told that to Chanel one day. I said, hey, you two guys gotta stick together. You guys are good together. And that was from the heart. I meant that when I said that to them. That was at Tekken World Tour Finals year that Chikurin won. I remember that. They were in the crowd chilling. Man, JDCR. It was really fun to watch his character choice because although most people like to say that JDCR is like a robot and he played in like a real robotic way and always the same way every time. I mean, if you look at the characters he's playing, I don't associate these characters with robotic characters. These are very aggressive, offensive kind of characters. They only bowl so well being blockers, and they got risks on their offense too. Heihachi don't got the safest lows in this game, but he's still a very strong character overall. This game got a much safer. This guy got a much safer Mishima if you want to play that guy, Jinpachi. Let's talk about that character. He was ham. You see, he's keeping him real compact because he knows that Knee is going to try to escape in a way that's defensive and safe, and that's just trademark. He's going to block, sidestep, block, sidestep, block, sidestep. And so the only way for Jaden to chase that is to either sidestep with him or to make sure that he's using, something. There's not as many crazy tracking moves in this game. That's one thing that I find interesting. In the newer Tekken, they give you kind of like a variety of tracking moves, and you have a lot more like tracking moves that also counter hit starters that do something real good. So you can track them and you can kind of stop them. But in this game, there are tracking moves that are pretty good, and some of them aren't deep, like combo starters and things like that. But that's not like a universal thing, like how it is in new Tekken. And so that makes sidestep, potentially even stronger. There are some moves that have like that phantom kind of hitbox that they're real good at catching step a certain way. But if you know what move they're going for and you generally know which way to step, stepping is very effective in this game. It's very old school style. This game also has a totally different knockdown style. Man, I'm telling you, young kids, even I can barely handle this about this game. This game, when you got knocked down, there's no backslide to get up, and there's no safe, easy way to wake up. Effectively, you got to just wake up with whatever's the right option based on what you think the other guy's going to do. And that means that sometimes they can do things like you try to wake up with a kick, and they press a down jab, and their down jab will legit just float you off the ground, and they'll get a whole combo from that, and it won't be significant damage because it's either scaling or from an OTG. But still, the amount of pressure that you can put on someone from a basic knockdown in this game is almost feels like a real life, like a battle, for survival. You get knocked down, and best believe you better get up correctly because otherwise the pressure the other guy's putting on is crazy. And part of the reason I bring that up is because notice how effective both players are with their ukemi, their wake-up timing, when they choose to do their wake-up kicks. And, they find ways to wake up from pretty dangerous positions. Like, see here, this is real dangerous. It's hard for him to get up. You see, he found a way to do it with the tag, but that was a very precarious situation. And, these guys are creating these situations over and over. Look, again, here's a dangerous situation. How do you get out? You can't. It's dangerous. He tried the tag, and even that didn't work. And that's what makes this one the scariest Tekken games, is that it's got a for real, you get knocked out. You don't want to mess up and get knocked down in this game. New games, you get knocked down, and it's almost like a 2D game. You hold backside, you get back up, and everything's okay. Back on your feet. Not this one. The basic jabs for the knockdown. The basic punishment rules of Tekken also are, of course, in this game. So it's, your jab punish, your 12-frame punish, your launch punish, frame data in between. That kind of that 12 to 14. If you're knowledgeable about that stuff, then you're real in there. But otherwise, stick to the 10 to 12 to 15, and you'll cover a lot of your bases with many moves in this game. It depends on the character, of course. This game had a fun roster too. That's part of what made it so. Oh my goodness, these crazy close rounds. I think he stole the round with that one. That was insane. 2-0 right now for JDCR. This was still an older event, so this camera here was the digital that I showed you guys in one of the previous videos. This camera here, unfortunately, was an old Panasonic. It's like a SD camera, and the way that I was getting the connection from it was through. Does anybody remember this? The old Dazzle capture cards. And usually it works pretty well. But at this event, It did not work very well. In fact, part of the reason I started phasing out that camera was this particular tournament, and it was because it didn't perform that well in that situation. So if you're ever wondering why the knee camera looks amazing and the JDCR camera looks like butt, that is because, you know, things break. Okay, I couldn't afford to have two digital cameras. Also, it was very tricky to have a digital camera back then. I couldn't just use HDMI or something easy like that. I had to do like a whole USB with a USB extension into a rigmarole. You know, the frame rate was real low because I didn't have a lot of lighting. I was doing a lot of tricks just to make it work. But, you know, in the end, I think it was worth it. There's a lot of times I can look back at the footage and say, man, this looks really beautiful. Electric for the pickup, my goodness. Switching over. Now I've become a Devil Jin. Devil Kazuya. Do something about it. Oh my goodness. It went right over his button. Neat. Man, if you guys got any good memories of these two players playing, you guys let me know. Tell me any memory that you like about Knee or JDCR. I told you some memories of Knee and him and Chanel already at Tekken World Tour Finals. I also have a good memory of JDCR. And this is way back when I asked JDCR and Saint to come to the Philippines. I told the two of them to come show up and come be a part of Rev Major, big tournament at the time. And, you know, the two of them came through and, you know, they told me they wanted to eat ramen, basically. Saint was a part of it, so they wanted to eat ramen. So I took them to the nicest ramen restaurant, basically in the Manila area. And it was a real nice ramen restaurant, right? Well, the next year, you know, JDCR comes back. And, you know, I'm expecting them to hit me up at least and be like, hey, Spooky, what you doing? You want to get some ramen or something, right? Tell me why I go to the ramen place to eat lunch and JDCR, Junding, Saint, and a whole squad, they're all walking out. And I'm like, hey, did y'all eat ramen? He's like, yeah. And they were like, we're going to get a massage. And then they got in like an Uber and then they just left. They didn't even invite me. Anyway, the point I'm making with that story, which I tell it a lot, but the point of that story is that watch out, because JDCR learns really fast. Be careful what you teach that guy.
Good punish there. Okay, the hell sweeps and the risks are coming out right now. What's going to happen between these two? It's still anybody's game. One touch could end it, though. Right. Ooh, drops it right.
Man, these two legends. For real, I was really happy to be a part of this because before this, you know, I knew them kind of casually, right? But it's not like I ever really had an extended conversation with either of them, JD or Knee. And just to be a cog in the wheel and be able to say I streamed a legendary match between the two of them. For real, at this time, made me so happy, man. I knew that I was going to have this YouTube video up ASAP and that I was going to get to look at what I want, you know, a legendary match between the two of them. And the commentary was hype. The crowd was really excited during this. And it's another one where if I look in the background, you know, many legends of the game were there at that time. I saw Big E at one point in the background of one of the shots. In the crowd, if you go on, you look, you're going to find many legends of old school Tekken. And sometimes I look in the crowds of these videos and I feel a little bit bad because there's some people that even are not with us anymore. And I'm happy to say that, you know, they were immortalized in some way in these videos. I can go back and look at it and be like, oh yeah, there's someone that was a big part of the FGC and what we did in particular. You know what I mean? And with that one, JDCR, ooh, the pop-off, JDCR was ready immediately. He was immediately ready for the dub. Nice. Hey. Man, look at how many people are there. Isn't that amazing? There was for a grip. On the right is Larry Shinblanca with the shades on. Man, this was a sick match. It's legendary in that it's kind of a culmination of the skill of the two of them. It's not that this match itself represents everything. It's more what it took to get to the point of this match, both with the fact that this was such a tough tournament, you could see how many people were there, but also the fact that it took a humongous amount of grind for the two of them to get to this point. And you know, the two of them, they had clashes within the game and with outside the game. But whenever I see the two of them play against each other, for real, it's one of the most impeccable and one of the most beautiful things that you could ever watch. So I'm always happy when the two of them go at it. Once again, everybody, I got to thank you also for checking this out and, you know, being a part of my memories, all these old matches, because I do really appreciate it. If you enjoy these, you know what to do, fellas. Like, comment, subscribe, follow the channel. Check out the match yourself if you want to relive it, or check out the rest of Final Round 16. And, you know, feel free to enjoy the channel and love it. And make sure to check out the Tasty Steve videos also, because I really appreciate that Steve is helping me out with all these. You guys have a beautiful day, everybody. Look forward to more of me talking about these legendary classic matches soon, and have a beautiful day.